welcome back to the channel. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about something that quite honestly it took me a while to figure out because even though a lot of people have videos about this, sometimes it can be a little confusing. And so before I get into it, again, my name is Kathy. This is my channel. We are talking about writing, and so I hope you enjoy this video, and I do have notes. All right, so I want to talk about the subject of a subplot. When you're writing a book, and just as a note, I'm not a professional. This is my opinion. This is what I've learned from watching other videos, reading, and all that. And so, yeah. And I know there are other people that have talked about this, but I thought, why not give it a shot? And so, subplots. What exactly is a subplot? Because in a novel, there is always the main plot, which is the main character or the main protagonist, and there's the antagonist or foe, who is the main, who has another plot of their own, and then there's subplots. So quite simply, a subplot is a side story that runs alongside the main plot. But here's the important thing. If you're writing a book, make sure you take note. A subplot is very important. They're not just there to give your side characters something to do. They serve a very important function. And what that is subplots have to support the main plot. They can't be put in there just to fill up space, because I'm going to give you a little list. All right, so subplots, what they do is they often intensify the conflict by adding new plot points or conflicts or obstacles. They also can reveal new information about a main character or an antagonist by enlightening their personality traits and character flaws. So you can learn a lot by a subplot. They also can reveal crucial backstory. They can teach the main character an important lesson or show them how to resolve the conflict. They can also make things worse for the main character, which heightens the tension or it complicates a love interest. And as a twist, a side character can also face the same circumstances or problems as the main character, but they make a very different decision that ends up with a very different outcome. So you have to remember, subplots are so important. But you also have to remember that before you create them, they are always secondary to the main plot. So if you're writing your book and you have the main plot, and all of a sudden you've got your side plot going, and that's taking more focus than the main plot, then you've got a problem. You need to decide which one is the main plot, because the main plot will always take precedence. It will always become first, and it will always end, the subplots will always end before the main plot does. So usually, if you're using the 3-act structure, excuse me, if you're using the 3-act structure, usually the subplot will always end near the end of the 2nd act or around the beginning of the 3rd act. They do not resolve at the same time. And subplots are, they're smaller scale stories, but they still deserve their own structure. So, you know, you go through and you make your main plot. You should also do the same thing with plot points with the side plots or the subplots, because they do deserve their own structure, because like I said, they have to support that main plot. They have to give important information. So the fun thing is you can use your side characters with their, because usually a subplot takes place with a side character, which is not the main character. And So you can use those subplots and those side characters either to help or to hinder your main character. And you can have a lot of fun with it. And you have to, here's the crucial part too, is you have to make sure you connect the subplot to the main plot. So like I said, I will always bring it back to that. Your subplot must support the main plot. Okay. All right, so there is a warning here. It can be fun to add the subplots, but you want to be careful not to bloat your novel with them. So I would suggest at the most 2 or 3 subplots in a novel. Anything more than that, it's going to be hard to for your reader to follow along, because there will be so much stuff happening that, now there are a few authors out there that I've read that can handle that and do that masterfully, but I haven't read any in a long time. And so you want to make sure that you don't bloat your novel with them, because it just brings confusion to the reader. And a confused or frustrated reader will not only stop reading your book, but they probably will not read anything else you write in the future. And so you've lost that person as a reader. And so, yeah, I would only put in 2 or 3 maybe at the most subplots. And I have a great example of this. So thankfully I didn't purchase this. They actually had them for free. It was an entire cozy mystery series, and I'm not going to say who it is or what it is, but they had probably 5 or 6 books, and it looked really intriguing. It was like, oh, I think I might like that. So I purchased it because it was free. It was a promotional thing. And so I couldn't read it because they had 7 main point of views, POVs, in their first book, and each point of view had their own subplots. So not only did you have main character plots for 7 people, but you had 7 additional subplots running alongside the other 7. So you had 14 plot lines in the same novel. It was constantly switching between the characters. It was just so confusing. And so I DNF'd that book, that whole series. And I will never actually purchase anything from this author, because it was frustrating. It was like I wanted a good read, something light, because cozy mysteries, they're kind of light, fluffy little things. They do deal with murder a lot, but they tend to be light and easy to read. This was not easy to read. This was so frustrating. And so, yeah, don't do that to your readers. Please, I beg you, don't do that to your readers. Don't make it so difficult for them to follow along that they get sick of it and they drop it off, and then they'll never come back. And so, another tip I would give you is don't get married to your subplots, which means subplots can be rewritten, removed, or taken out, or put back in at will. But you have to measure it. If you're going along and you're writing and you realize that your subplot is not doing any good for your main plot line, and it's not driving that main plot forward, which means it's not connected, it's just a whole separate little show on its own, then it's no longer a subplot. It's just filler, and you should just chop it off and get rid of it, because again, you don't want your readers to get bored or confused with a plot line that doesn't make any sense as to why it's in the book. That is so frustrating. So yeah, so what do you think? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Leave a comment in the chat. Let me know. I would love to know your opinion. Maybe you have a different opinion about it. Maybe you think you should have more subplots than 3. If you can figure out how to do it, drop me a line, let me know, because I'd love to talk about it and see what everybody else is doing. So that's it for today. I will talk to you next week, and I hope you have a blessed afternoon. Bye.